So welcome back to Straight No Chaser, episode 11. Today's episode, we got a very special guest, Zaidan. He is a sophomore here at Suffolk University with us, and he just won senator for student government for class of 2023. He also hosts his own podcast, and he's involved in SUFC, the Suffolk Club Soccer team. So we're going to start off with talking a little bit about SGA in general and your involvement in SGA and what you thought about your win. So just explain to me a little bit about your campaign and kind of what you wanted to cover and what your goals were becoming a senator.
Sure. So thank you for having me on.
Problem.
So when it comes to SGA, it was as simple as this. It came down to a couple things. First, I noticed something very obvious. We have a completely useless and burdensome student government, and that's the truth. I feel like nothing gets done. It's dysfunctional. There's no transparency, and none of the things people actually genuinely care about are actually talked about. And that's the truth. So I decided, you know what, we're going to run. It was the Senate seat was an uncontested race. So it's not like I'm not taking credit like I won, an actual campaign. I didn't do anything special. It was uncontested. It was uncontested. We took the seat. And I want to. Well, really, the idea is to get a feel of the government, and I plan on making a run for either VP or president further along. The intentions are this, right? It's as simple as this. A, we're going to figure out what actually matters to students, and it's number one thing. If you ask any student, it comes down to is cost. Above anything else, it always comes down to cost. It's nothing else. No one cares about student affairs or events or anything like that, or bathrooms or identitarian issues. It's always about cost when you ask anyone. They always tell me I pay too much for school. I got a massive increase in tuition, a massive increase in whatever. It's always going to come down to that. That's the truth. We've been let down for years on end. And let me just put this out. We had a 13% increase, let alone in tuition raise. The first thing I'm working with a couple other senators to do is pass a resolution that would cap tuition raises at 5%. So that way the school, at least under pandemic circumstances, because look at the circumstances we're in a pandemic, for fuck's sake, we need a tuition cap because we're not going to be able to abolish tuition raises. That's absurdity, and it's unrealistic, and it's not worth even aiming for. But at the minimum, we can minimize how much it's raising so that way students actually are prepared and are able to pay for those costs.
That's actually that's really smart. I like that a lot. The only thing from my experience in student government is that like Marisa Kelly, like the actual admin and board of Suffolk can be very hard to move when it comes to pricing and like I tried to get rid of Sodexo and they were like Sodexo's not going anywhere. I was like, okay.
Sodexo's that's a tough one.
Yeah, it was.
That's a tough one, but there's a convincing argument you can make, right? We're in a pandemic year. People are in dire financial situations. Parents, students have lost jobs. We are in absolutely ridiculous circumstances, and there's no reason whatsoever for housing to have went up $2,500 and tuition to have went up $3,500 from the previous year, especially in the circumstances we're in. The worst part, what I've noticed, is the student government actually has power. They have genuine power. They have ability to actually fight maybe not fully prevent them. I'm not saying they could fully prevent it, but they can fight them on these issues. They can fight for these changes. They can tell them, hold on, our students can't handle these things. This is absurd. Please stop. We can do these sorts of things.
There's actually two parts of this I really like. First is I agree with you. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't realize since we're in a pandemic year, student activities aren't eating up as much of class budgets as they used to. So that money should get reallocated or go back to lower tuition rates for the school. And then in addition, I feel like the biggest problem I remember on finance committee, and I'm sure Abby can speak to this too, is honestly, or at least sections of the student government feel fragmented. So if you're in SJRB, you don't feel as connected to finance committee or the housing committee. It's almost like
it's
too
like
fragmented, where they don't there's no cohesiveness to like what we're all trying to solve as a unit. It's just more like what is your individual committee trying to pass and what do they value?
The other thing is a lot of these kids they just write this resolution. Resolutions are pretty easy to write. I've written like 2 or 3, and like they're not hard, and half the time writing a resolution doesn't actually solve any problems. You have to go meet with the right people first.
Yeah.
Like meeting with the people in charge is going to get a lot more done than writing anything. Like
I completely agree.
yeah, it's not even close.
The problem we're having too is the entire SGA is just infested. And look, I don't care if they hit me on this. They can say what they want. I don't care.
Hit piece.
I don't care.
It will.
It's infested with ideologues. That's the main and obvious. It's very infested with ideologues. We've went over this before. We talk about the diversity training. This is my first day. It's the orientation and stuff, which is nice and all. And the final hour was about 4 hours long. The final hour, they say we got to do diversity training, which I thought was the most absurd, unnecessary, and most it's so unnecessary. Let's just be honest. Half the students in there aren't white. Bunch of students are gay. Like, do we need? Like, this doesn't feel like most of it's women. So I don't know how much of this is really necessary, but that's beside the point. They say we need this. We go inside this, and this just shows you it's all left-wing ideologues. We go into the diversity training. They show us the screen. And this ideologue, leftist is teaching us through this whole thing, and I'm sorry, not she. They identified as they. So I'm going to call them they. No. I'm not going to play these games. I'm going to call them they. They said that they were they. So I'm just got to make sure they were they. They were they.
Yes.
They told us that I have to make sure. I don't want to mess it up and they get canceled or something. But no, I didn't make sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
No,
No,
they is the
for sure.
proper term.
Yeah, it was they. It was they.
Yeah.
They said that they had a list of trigger words that don't use. They're alarming. They're very they could hurt someone's feelings. I'm like, okay, but whatever.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, whatever. So the words. Let me just tell you, these people are really ideologues. I saw all lives matter in there. I saw rioter in there. I saw illegal immigrant in there. I saw all these terms that are just true technical terms, basic terms that people use, and they're like, no, we can't use it. And me being me, I had to fight they on them. I had to fight them on them. I had to fight them on it. So I did. So I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, what are you going on about? These are just technical terms. And they're like, well, actually, this could offend someone. I'm just saying this is like a very offending thing, especially like in this prevalent moment where like racism is dire. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense.
None of those are racial slurs.
Yeah.
I can't believe you can't say rioters.
Yeah,
Like when someone
rioters
calls us a riot, what are you supposed to say? Like
You know what was my biggest issue with diversity training? I had one issue the whole time. I had one big issue. They said if you hear something, do not confront the person. Go to someone else. What? Like, you're never going to solve any problems, not only, like, with ending, like, bigotry. You're not going to end bigotry, first of all. That's never going to happen. But first, like, you shouldn't tackle life as if you see a problem, do not confront it. No problems get solved that way. No human being has ever gone anywhere in life thinking, oh, I see an issue, I'm just going to not confront it. Like,
that's cancel culture in a nutshell. That's literally because they're like, you gotta cancel them instead of like.
They were like, don't call out, go tell someone. It's like, if you don't call it out, that person who said it is never gonna learn. They're never gonna.
Why they don't call out though is that the people who call them out look just as cringe in like the videos people take as the person getting called out. Yeah. I've always noticed that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is like. The whole don't confront them notion is bullshit because I think it's flawed to only think we're not like we're not sole bigotry in the whole world. Like America might be bigoted, but name a place in the entirety of the world where there's not bigots.
Bro, places with old cultures are extremely bigoted. Like a lot of places in Europe, Asia, India, like, Indians can be pretty fucking racist, dude.
It's a segment of every population is going to be bigots. Yeah. It's just the fact.
Dude, right? In the Middle East, right? Palestinians and most countries still they're not allowed to become citizens or get jobs in these countries.
That's
like, this idea that, like, America is, like, the most racist country ever and it's built on race, it's bullshit. And the worst part is, this isn't close to the most racist country in the world. These people just have such a narrow-minded view of the world that they would never understand that.
Well, that's
No,
the problem.
like South
I actually think
America,
it's
my
like,
dad went to South America and like people openly spat at him in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Americans have no idea of like a cohesive idea of like the world or
No.
neighbors outside
it's
their
just
borders.
ignorance.
They think that like America is the only place that exists in the whole world. It's just like a flawed ideology where it's like, no, there's a different vibe and a different like mindset anywhere you go, really.
You
So
know what
I don't know. It's
I-
fucked.
What I think it is, right? I don't think it's about any of those issues, and it's not about solving any of them. They don't care to. It's about controlling people's speech. That's all it is. You don't want people like me, who, I'm a relatively conservative person. They don't want me and other people like me to be able to voice our opinions and speak. It's happening in the media. It's happening everywhere. It's happening all over big tech. They don't want people like me speaking. They don't want us because we completely go against their ridiculous points of view. And once we do, it bothers them. They want control. It's we went over this.
Well, I wouldn't say it's accurate to say it's all over tech. Tech is a lot more. That's like a business industry, not really like.
I'm talking about. Well, let me describe it this way. I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, the censorship of conservatives.
Oh yeah,
Talking about social
media.
social
Social
media,
media.
social media.
Social media. I
Yeah.
should have social media. My fault. No,
Even
no.
unfortunately in professional media, like I've noticed this as a journalism major, like there's a lot of things like I'm part of the Suffolk Journal too, and even there we have to watch a video every week on diversity. It's basically diversity training as well, and it's just like what happened in like people forming their own opinions on
Yeah.
things. Because if you look at all the big news stations, all the big news corporations, they're all like for the most part biased in some way. Like and like where you get the real journalism is like more like small independent like sites because
like
now everyone has
Axios
like
and Vice.
yeah, everyone has like a message they're trying to push. And that's what kind of worries me a little bit. That's partly why I got it. Or like, well, that's not like the reason why I got into it, but that's partly one of my missions I'm trying to accomplish going into journalism is trying to get real news back in the forefront of our media.
Well,
Can I just mention one thing too? Is I feel like we are all for diversity and like we support there being every different type of American.
Yeah.
And if
Just look at this
people
show
don't
right
feel
now.
that way, to be honest, they're pieces of shit. But at the same time, if you're working somewhere, like it is not, you can't judge someone's job performance by what color they are and trying to meet a quota. It's how well they can do the job. And I feel like a lot of times businesses get lost and trying to fill a quota when in reality they could
they're forced
their
to.
bottom
Yeah.
lines can be suffering
They're forced
because like you could have more black people that are good at a specific job, but you have to hire a certain amount of white people or Latino people. Like that makes zero sense to me. If I'm being honest.
I have
Yeah,
a,
like catering.
I have a weird take on diversity, and like I get kind of called out on it. It's not like it's not one that's very popular, but it's like not like a bad take. Let's just put it this way. I basically don't believe diversity is a good or an inherent bad. I think it's just a neutral. I don't think having a ton of diversity makes us better. I don't think having no diversity makes us better. I just think it's a neutral. Like we shouldn't be focused because what we've done is
I think it's the wrong way to measure
it's about the
efficiency.
performance of people.
Yeah.
Like it's
wrong
about the
way of measuring
performance of an
efficiency.
individual. Like the individual is
all
what
it is.
matters, right?
we
Yeah.
made ourselves so focused towards diversity, and I'm like, dude, why is this even that important? Like, who
Well,
cares?
diversity can also be important in terms of like diverse perspective, like having
Of course.
different perspectives is that can be very valuable.
Yeah, I
But
was
two
gonna say-
people can look the same and have two completely different
different
ideas or
beliefs. Yeah,
perspectives.
what I want to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
say is like, I like how places like Suffolk have a lot of diversity. Like like you and me on SUFC, like we know people from like all over the world. It's like cool.
Yeah.
Like there's people places I never thought I'd meet before. That's where it's good. But the thing is, in like on the field when we're playing soccer, we're all equals. Like we're all
Yeah.
treated the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
It's like the universal connection. Like to go out of the way and say somebody gets something different based on their background, I think is just pandering.
It's insanity. It's
It is.
awful. It's why I don't like affirmative action either. I don't know if that's unpopular with you guys. I'm not crazy about affirmative action.
No, actually, in one of my classes, I actually argued against affirmative action because
Okay.
I don't think it's a really key indicator of showing if someone can do a job or not.
Well, I
Yeah.
think
If there's
affirmative
more
action.
women that score higher in a police testings, there should be more women police in that district. I mean, like if guys are fighting and they can pass the exam at a higher rate, then like they should be in those jobs. This idea,
Affirmative action now has become a bit outdated, but keep in mind
has.
it was made in a time where like people
That is
were
true.
excluded
That's fair.
from
Why is it
opportunity
that?
actively.
That is fair.
Well,
That is a very fair
But
point.
why is it around now? We shouldn't be prioritizing affirmative action still. Who
Yeah.
cares? Move on. Seriously,
I just don't think it's a good indicator of if someone can do a job.
it's a terrible indicator.
Yeah.
I don't want people picking. I did not have amazing grades in high school, right? And I got a lot of like benefits. I got a lot of cheaper options to schools because of affirmative action. I didn't get declined from a single school. I went up for. I did not have good grades in high school. You know, affirmative, and I wrote an essay really focused on my own background, just to kind of push for that affirmative action like cash out right
Yeah.
there. But I mean, dude, it's the truth though. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
I took advantage of the minority
Yeah,
card
I took
applying to colleges. Totally. How can you?
I don't
not?
even have a drop of Native American blood. That's an
What?
Elizabeth Warren.
Why have like
there.
any race? You're just like Native American. Oh.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to make the Warren
You're
joke.
an Indian American, but you're getting like you're like a native. I'm not even native.
Yeah, but
Bro,
that's the
I'm gonna have
best
a drop.
one, bro. Free college if you
All I
can
have
prove
is-
it.
Northern European. I can't prove shit, dude.
Pocahontas, bro. Pocahontas.
I
Friggin'
mean, It is, yeah. I mean, I
Elizabeth
guess
Warren. That's what my dad calls Elizabeth Warren. He calls her Pocahontas.
Warren, man,
of course, if you're gonna use the system to your benefit, like I was talking to this with George, like George and I were talking about when we were writing our college essay. Like he mentioned how his parents had to flee war, and like one of the things I was talking about in high school is how my grandparents lived through a war. Like you're gonna use stuff into your favor, of course.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't mean that you somehow get more privileges than
No.
someone
Yeah.
else.
I know, and my privileges because of the color of my skin. It's so funny, man. It's so funny.
Well, it also doesn't mean that like just because like we get advantages like that like we have to stop being able to say things.
Yeah,
Like-
or that you don't have to work as hard or something like
Mo,
that.
I actually have a serious question that I want to know the answer to. So, if people meet you for the first time, do they assume that you're woke just like them, and then you just completely throw them off?
They
I actually have
a liberal or I'm pretty left because yeah, I mean my color, my skin, my first name for God's sake, my religion, they would automatically.
But
assume.
isn't that inherently racist and flawed
Dude,
too?
we were just talking about this before the show
I think
started.
we're confusing.
Can't fathom the fact that someone who's Palestinian and Muslim can be Republican, but that's like if you put those labels on somebody, like if you're
That's what
like
I'm trying
Arab,
to
if
say.
you're black,
I
you
think
have to be
we're-
Democrat. That's like that is
What
discrimination.
you're talking about here
It is.
more is about like the science of the human brain, though, like subconscious, like
it's a
just
societal
based
thing.
on the things
I don't
we've
think
seen.
it's racist. It's not.
Yeah. It's a lot more
okay, that's fair.
subconscious than it is racist.
No, I
Yeah.
don't say it's racist, but it's
That's
just like
not- yeah,
it's
you guys are right. That's not racist.
labeling. It's labeling.
But it is labeling. It's
It's like
definitely.
what they do. They'll do with like Southerners. They'll say, oh, they'll see like an old, like a white Southerner, like
Like
"He's
a preconceived
racist
notion.
conservative or something
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, exactly, and they don't even understand that some of the things Southerners do, like having guns, they need that for their lifestyle.
Man, I feel
Yeah.
bad for America altogether. I feel so bad. No one gets them. No one understands how they go through. No one gets.
They live
Down
with like
south?
all these animals in their backyard, like that are trying to
They're
kill their like
farmers.
livestock, and they have to have a gun. Like George was telling me about this when he was in Florida. Like these guys were talking about how the Second Amendment is important to them because they literally like have to defend their livestock from coyote. But people up here would just be like, "Oh, those stupid fucking gun totes."
it's like, you don't need a gun.
Yeah.
You might kill someone. 32,000 people a year die because of guns.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not
sure.
gonna- You moron.
Hunting a
Yeah.
rifle.
You need a fucking gun.
Yeah,
You also need weed though, so
they need weed.
you
Weed.
need both.
I don't know if you like my take on weed. I actually wouldn't. I actually oppose legalization.
Oh my god.
Legalization would make it way more expensive.
You-
Actually.
Just listen to what I'm saying. Listen to my
Fuck
take.
though.
Listen,
Take
listen to
you
my
at it.
I've influenced a lot of people to change their minds. I've influenced
Every drug should be legal. Change my mind.
hell no.
No, not every drug, but like psychedelics.
All right, not like heroin and like what's
Not
the other one?
heroin,
Fentanyl.
No,
Man.
we don't need any drugs.
Those should
So
be
like
legal.
Jake, crack is cool for you. You're fine with
Yeah,
that.
crack
Yeah.
should be legal.
Jake, I'll rephrase it with me and Jake. agree. We
Also,
think
Adderall should be
have
legal.
a
Most
positive effects. No, shut up, Jake. We're saying drugs that have a positive effect on the brain, like something, or on the body, like marijuana or psilocybin mushrooms.
Psilocybin or Adderall.
let's get back to your point. Yeah. What?
let me give my take on weed, right?
Yeah.
So I watched something that sort of kind of influenced me, and I've influenced stoners, and they're like, dude, now I don't want to be legalized. The last thing we should ever want, right? Ever want is big business or any corporations to take over the weed business. They will trap people. They're going to make people reliant on it. They're going to exploit people. I'd rather have a bunch of plugs do their thing and not get wiped out. So a bunch of corporations take over this business. And then they're going to make people totally reliant on weed. And the last thing we need in a society is a bunch of people. We already have it, for God's sake. It's a bunch of people walking around stoned, out of their minds, not being able to do anything. That's not a good society. That's not a healthy.
We already have people doped
That
up.
part.
Well, I mean,
last
yeah,
part
it's
is really invalid to me.
We have
But
people
like,
taking
I'm trying to
pharma
dissect
opioids.
before that. See, your idea about the dealers keeping their jobs, I can respect it.
That
Although I
part-
still think small
not
business
really-
will be created
What do
from
you mean
it.
small?
I mean,
the
if
big
your your sole
Still,
job
big
is like
business.
selling bud, then like
Yeah,
Don't
that's
take-
what I was
just take it
But here's
over.
the thing, Mo.
big
Here's the
business
thing with
can roll over you
The
even
last
without
part about
buying
like a
weed.
bunch of stone slackers walking around is just flawed. I don't agree with that one.
I was gonna say I'd rather people be
That's-
stoned than taking pills.
But,
We have people literally walking around stoned, drugged up. We have people, right?
Would you rather have them on opioids?
Yeah,
or
but
weed?
like I feel like
I've met people who can't even just wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, and walk around and go to school without smoking weed.
Mo,
Hey,
I
we
think
know people too.
we know those
It's not
people
good
as
for
well.
society.
No, what Mo? Well, you're like infringing on these people's individual rights to choose what they want to do with
Dude,
their
all I'm
lives. Like,
saying is,
That's
all I'm
facts.
saying
like
is
you're putting it,
fucked up society.
you're
That's
putting
all.
you're
more,
for-
you're putting more responsibility on like the people that are growing and giving the weed out than you are on the individual and the
Look at our
choice that
kids.
individual gets to
This
make.
society, man. Look
So
at the
guns should be legal, but weed shouldn't
look
be.
at the listen.
Come
to this.
on, I'm
Listen,
too much of a
listen. No, no, no,
libertarian.
no,
It should all be legal.
Listen, look at look at the kids in today's society. Look at them. They're all drugged up. They're all on drugs. They're all.
How many kids do you know
What are we
though, in our
talking about
society?
here?
Look at
Let's hear what I want to hear what you have to say.
look at our society, right? Our generation has been consumed by these things, overly consumed by these things. I know people who need Adderall to just do regular things. I know people who need weed. We shouldn't want people to need weed. People shouldn't need weed to do just basic things. That's not good for society.
Well-
If you can't do basic things, if you can't go to work, can't go to school, if you can't interact with people without being stoned, that's a fucking problem.
I'd
And
argue
you'll-
that's not a majority of people though.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Here's
Wait,
where I'll
wait.
agree. All right. At least with the marijuana, all right. I don't partake, but I still think it should be legalized because I think it's a freedom choice. I don't think it's like this major problem. I also think it can be used for
We
medicinal
say that, we
purposes.
say that,
Should
but
be
look-
over the counter. The other thing though is I do agree, or I guess I disagree too. Is like Adderall should be over the counter because
I
if
think,
Adderall was legal
Oh,
and it was
man.
over the counter, I'd be getting a script every
Adderall's
month.
prescription.
It is
Adderall.
prescription, but I said I'd be getting like
Oh,
a.
if you rather
There's-
getting a bottle.
There's
that's
been a
over the
drug
counter
like
every month.
Adderall around since like World War II. Like there's always something like
was
it.
meth,
There's
right?
always something like it out there. Like before
Mo, here's what
Adderall,
yeah.
it was Ritalin, and before Ritalin,
Yeah,
there was
but-
something else. Like
Yeah.
Mo, here's what I'll say to that issue though. What I just gotta say you should take into consideration. So I do agree. I think if people have to wake up in the morning and smoke weed just to do anything, it's not a good habit. It's not something they should do. There's always gonna be that lazy bunch of people who are just like stoners. But here's the thing: the vast majority of people who do smoke weed, like myself, I'll do it just on the weekend to relax. Like I have a glass of beer every now and then.
Criminalized. I don't think it should be criminalized. I don't think we should punish people. But look,
Yeah, but
if
here's
you-
the thing: if you decriminalize it, it gives people, because people are going to be able to grow it themselves. So I don't actually even agree with the big business taking it over because people can
business
still
is gonna
grow it
completely
them.
take over.
Bro, dude, the thing is, people can still grow it themselves.
yeah.
I
And
bet
people can still
you want
provide
it.
for
I would
themselves.
Also,
$1,000
if
right
big
now.
business puts
$1,000.
if the government puts a tax on it, then I still think there's going to be
Also,
room for a dark market in weed.
Big
always.
business is already involved in weed. Like Coca-Cola spent like I think
Yes.
they
That's
spent
good.
a couple $1 billion, and then Corona, the company that brews Corona in Mexico, bought some weed too. They spent like a couple $1 billion on it. It's not
Big-
bad
Yeah, but the thing
though.
is,
Like
weed in Massachusetts, for example, is only distributed at dispensaries, which are like government fund. They're like the state government funds
Sure.
them.
Because it's
But
not-
you can get there are dealers in mass. It's not just the government.
Well, there's still
itself.
going to be dealers. You're going to get cheaper prices. I know. I'm
That's what I'm
saying that's
saying.
why I don't see the harm with legalization
I'm
because
just saying, okay, well, and not just that, we actually don't know the full effects of someone who's lived a whole life, smoking weed for 40 years. We don't know the effects.
I mean, the other benefit
actually,
to having it
the-
legalized is that
We don't know.
safety
We don't have
standards are way
science.
better.
Why would we legalize that?
Someone
If it's
who's
legal- If it's regulated, weed will actually have much higher standards. Growers can't just like be cooking them in like a fungus infected like fucking mold everywhere.
Fuck standards. Fuck standards.
Fuck standards.
Look at food. Look at food. Look at the food. Some of the food we have. Look at the random
yeah,
bullshit.
food is
chemicals all
fucked.
over it.
Food is
Look
fucked.
at some of the chemicals we have in our food. Fuck that.
Yeah, but you as an individual can find
And choose not to
local
eat that.
people. You can find other alternatives. Like they all exist. You
All
know?
right, let's put it this way, right? Your basis for legalizing it is just freedom's freedom. Let people.
Freedom
do
is freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Freedom.
your basis.
my freedom is also that, or I'm sorry, my reason's also that literally it's shown to, like, you must at least be for medical legalization. Like, it's shown a lot of
No, it's
effects that
actually
are.
Medical, yeah.
we do
Medical,
have
yeah.
scientific evidence too that like being a daily smoker as opposed to a daily drinker, it causes less harm to your brain.
I believe
Yeah,
that.
it does. Actually, there's like people die younger a
Wait,
lot of the
Barrett,
time
you
from-
cut out for a second.
Uh,
When you want to
I
repeat
heard
that,
it.
you cut
Yeah,
out.
so
Oh, really? I
we do have scientific evidence that like daily drinking compared to daily smoking has less of an effect on the brain than daily drinking.
It's true. And
But I
also,
mean,
people
I don't think
smoke and
anyone.
500 influence are less likely to get in an accident than people
Yeah.
who drink. Not saying that either are good, but if people are like, I've heard the argument that like that weed causes more DUIs, and I just don't buy it.
No
Because
drugs
I
should
think
be
it's
done every day, though. That's up to
I-
the individual to decide, to figure out.
My eyes, right? I look at my society and I want to protect my society. I want to keep my people whole. I want kids to grow up, and I
Then
don't
why
want.
is alcohol legal?
That's a bad argument. People always go. with the-
It's not.
I disagree.
It's a really good argument.
legalize weed. Alcohol. Let's put it this way. I
Has
don't
been
see-
around longer.
well,
They've
yeah.
both been around as
I
long.
don't see kids going like, right when I was in middle school, I saw kids and even high school. All I saw were kids just constantly stoned, constantly fucked up, and that's not a good thing. Where are they getting influence from? Parents, family, and that's not good. Then they grow up and a lot of them end up being bums. That's not a good thing. We shouldn't support that in our society. I just wouldn't be. Unless you give me perfect science, a good science that says this is okay for people and they'll be able to live well and they can live efficiently, then sure.
I mean,
We don't
I think you're generalizing though, because like one of two of my dad's close like work friends who have become very successful in life, like they're daily smokers, and
Yeah,
one
I
of
know
them
people-
has been since he was like 12 years old. Like,
Also, I know several athletic people who like they do boxing and MMA. I'm really into that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
I've talked to several people. They'll use CBD pens, but also THC dab pens, and they'll rip dabs, and they'll
Sure.
use it just as a way to kind of like relax their muscles and kind of take off the tension
I mean-
to get a quicker recovery.
No, what I'm trying to say here is like you have this view like I need to protect society through doing this, but it's like you can't really protect society. Individuals make
Right.
their own choices.
I know when tobacco
I know,
and
that's a
alcohol are
cheap
legal, I
libertarian
just
view
don't
on it,
think.
though. That's a cheap libertarian view. I know it's the freedom. I know it's like
Cheap.
it's so
It's
generic.
true.
It's not
Well, I'm
generic
saying
because
it
the
helps.
death rates.
That's all I'm saying.
More
Like-
people die of alcohol and nicotine every year.
It comes down to
And
me. I don't want.
Pharmaceutical drugs.
It comes down to me. I don't want big business exploiting people through weed.
They
That's it.
already do. Big business
It's tough. I
exploits
think
everything.
I think it's
No,
the
it's
one
not.
stance that I just don't understand.
I don't want a bunch of billionaires. I don't want these people to come in and just completely and utterly exploit people through weed. It's not good for society. It's not
I
good.
want one of these dealers to become a billionaire, so the only way we make that happen.
I want to be able
Through
to grow my own
legalization.
weed. Like it's
for,
nothing.
you can grow
Yeah.
your own. Look. I just.
It'd still be illegal though. I'd still get like fucking federal agents knocking my door down if it's not
You know
legal.
why?
I don't think they'd do that
I
for
don't know.
weed, honestly, bro.
We let people take loans
Not
out.
en masse, dude. If you'd be surprised in the South.
Wait,
How about this?
what were
I'll
you
bet
saying
anyone here- I'll bet anyone here $2,000 that big business takes a hold of this and it ends up, and people are in the end are in the end going to end up being very
Well, it's
reliant.
business overall. There are going to be some businesses that get into weed and become huge, and there are going to still be small
And then they're going to
startups.
exploit parts of our society because of it. They're going to
Wait, Mo, do you ever smoke
I
weed?
think that's a very dire outlook to have.
You don't?
no.
Have you ever tried it though?
I have, yeah, but I'm never gonna no, never again.
I have too. I actually was a bit of one or like a stoner for a while, but then I would call it sophomore year of college. I stopped and I haven't actually smoked much since. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see it as like this terrible, like
Yeah, for me,
Yeah,
it's just
it's-
something I'll do
it's
every
other-
now and then to
it's
treat
not-
myself. I'll do it like a couple times, maybe in a week or
I don't
something.
know.
It's an unpopular view. I told you, it's a really
Yeah.
kind of looked at. It's not a popular view, but I don't know. I just don't want it in the hands of big corporations, and I'd rather see plugs just continue doing their thing.
I mean, I get your point with the corporations, but I just feel like it's easier if it gets regulated and it's safer as well.
If it does get legalized, here's what I will agree with. It will be kind of a nostalgia to look back on the days of plugs and be like, I remember when I got my weed from like the corner of the
It's all
street.
wiped out. Wiped out for the little store over there, that the
Yeah.
business over there, the corporation, whatever that gets to sell this. I mean, and they get to exploit our people. But either way, fuck it. Let's get out of this conversation.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, fair. You make a fair point.
We're
but
not gonna change minds on this. You know.
Yeah,
it's-
no,
Yeah.
no.
It's nice to hear the.
That is a
opinion, though.
different perspective. Yeah, I haven't really.
Yeah.
No one I've met at college really has that.
No, no
I
one.
met a few people. I know I met a few people, dude.
Yeah.
There's definitely there's definitely the crowd for that, but
Yeah.
whatever. All right.
Speaking of keeping weed illegal, Trump's latest Supreme Court nomination, Amy Coney Barrett. So I was reading up on her today, and she was the clerk for Antonin Scalia, who is notoriously like traditional constitutionalist kind of justice, so with this kind of judges, there's really like the legal world has like two different, like, the Constitution is a living, changing, breathing document open to interpretation, and then there's it's as it's written, and that's the way it's meant to be interpreted. I definitely lean more towards like the democratic side of things, where it's like I think it's living and breathing and open to change over time. But so Amy Coney Barrett, she is really intelligent actually. She graduated summa cum laude at Notre Dame Law, and then I think there's a lot of there's just a lot of controversy surrounding her nomination, because it would make the Supreme Court like 6-3 more Republican leaning. I don't think like Gorsuch is a bad Supreme Court nominee from Trump, honestly. I think Gorsuch was probably his best nominee so far. Another thing I found really interesting is that well, how about let's focus on Amy Coney Barrett for now. So, guns, I have a feeling I'd agree with her. I think Jake would too. She's
Yep.
not a fan
I
of
would
gun
too.
control, and she also says like she dissented against a ruling for a felon trying to get a gun, and he went to court about it. And she said this guy should be able to get a gun because even though he was a felon, his offense was stealing mail. Like, he's not a violent felon. Like,
Yeah.
She
I actually
said-
agree.
this shouldn't impede his right to own a weapon. Like, and I agree.
Nonviolent felons should be able to own firearms. They should also be able to vote.
Depending
They
on
are.
Yeah.
depending
I
on
agree with
where
that.
some of these people live, like a gun could mean their livelihood. So
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier.
yeah, exactly. And then yeah, I mean, she's just really like her track record in Chicago as a judge has been just like traditionally conservative. So I think that's caused a lot of like controversy. In the hearing, she's playing it very downplayed. She's like not committing, which we also saw with like Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, where like they don't really commit to anything. They just say like calm, even keel things. She is reading some of her like quotes and stuff though. She's very intelligent, and like she really reads through like well, I guess she's about to be she's being nominated for the Supreme Court. She has to read through things, but Yeah, she's very even amongst clerks in the Supreme Court, she was considered like one of the toughest. She could uh she could dissect legal arguments probably the best out of like many people working there. All my information is based off of NPR and British Broadcasting Channel. So the biggest controversy now is that Trump has moved to get 3 Supreme Court justices in, and his first 2 have succeeded. And if this one succeeds, it'll be a 6-3 conservative, like Republican to Democrat leaning court. But honestly, if you look at like the history for like Supreme Court justices and how they've been nominated, so here I can just read it off. Like Henry Ford had 1, right? And that's the only one that's that low. Reagan had 4. George W. Bush had 2. Clinton had 2. Or Bush Sr. had 2. Bush Jr. tried to get 3. One of them failed. Obama tried to get 3. Merrick Garland failed. And Trump so far has succeeded with 2. So basically...
By the way, you mean Gerald Ford, not Henry Ford. That's the guy.
Did I say Henry Ford? Yeah, my bad. That's my bad.
With the Model T and shit.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
I know who Gerald Ford is, but I just misspoke. But basically, what I'm trying to say is like these trends show that even if it is stacked one way, like Republican or one way liberal, like the Supreme Court tends to really make safe decisions. The Supreme Court tends to follow the law of the land.
I think the thing is though with Coney Barrett so Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and Coney Barrett, this is probably going to be a conservative majority.
Yeah.
They're saying 20, 30 years. So this is going to be like, this is now between
Trump's because they're young. They are very young.
Between Trump's take on China, which I think is going to be his lasting legacy is also going to be the Supreme Court, easily.
Yeah.
He's going to be known as that guy who pretty much delivered the majority, the conservative majority, which is my preference personally. But yeah, the whole thing's a shit show, man. The whole nomination is just an utter shit show.
Well, honestly, it's bound to happen. Like as life in America gets more and more divisive, like Supreme Court nominees are gonna come under way more like what's the word I'm looking for?
I have zero problems
scrutiny,
with
way more scrutiny.
What's it? Amy? Is it Barrett? Amy Barrett, did I get that right?
Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Alex,
I have
you're
zero
mine.
problems with her. The only problem I actually have in this whole instance is back in 2016 when the Republicans denied Obama's Supreme Court nominee, Merrick Garland, because it was an election year. But don't give me that bullshit because it's the same thing.
It is.
Is it not the same thing?
It's the same fucking thing.
There's not. Okay, go for it.
McConnell said in an election year, when the Senate majority and the president are of opposite parties, it doesn't make sense to put someone in, which makes sense. He said, in an election year where the president and the Senate majority is of the same party, we'll put through the nominee. That's actually his basis.
Yeah, but it's only happened twice, bro. It happened when he was, It happened when the president wasn't sitting in a majority, and then when the majority president happened to be on McConnell's side, it just works out that way.
No, McConnell.
How convenient.
He said in 16, this is how it works. If he was in the same party, we'd put the nominee. We have opposing parties in an election year. We're not going to put through the nominee.
Yeah.
That's so fucking lukewarm. That's just like, I feel different.
One thing I
mediocre basis.
One thing I do think people are talking about like adding more justices and court packing and shit.
That's
and
bullshit.
I agree. I think that's bullshit. That does not need to happen. There's no reason for that.
But I also think the Republicans are fucking hypocrites for 2016.
Yeah, they are. They totally are.
If I'm being honest.
On some Lindsey Graham explicitly said.
Yeah. Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are fucking terrible human beings.
Oh
bro.
yeah,
they're awful people.
There's some Republicans. I dream of just being out of the party.
Yeah.
Grassley, Ron Johnson, McConnell, Lindsey Graham.
What about Mike Huckabee or Ted Cruz too?
Cruz, I think, is an okay.
Cruz isn't terrible.
Cruz is interesting. Cruz is interesting. I'll keep Cruz.
Huckabee. Huckabee's pretty fucked.
I think Huckabee's fucked. Yeah.
But I like Rand Paul.
Giuliani and Kasich aren't bad.
Rand Paul, I want out too. Get him out.
Really? I fucking love that.
No, actually, Rand is a little Ron. I fuck with. Rand, I'm not a big fan of actually.
I
Ron is
fuck with
cool,
I
though.
fuck with
I get him
Romney,
confused.
Giuliani, and Kasich. Those three Republicans I really like.
Yeah. I also
Giuliani?
no, I don't fuck with Giuliani, but I fuck
Well,
with
Giuliani
with
now
Giuliani.
now that
Giuliani's fucked up.
now
I
that
don't like
Giuliani's
Giuliani,
fucked
all right,
now, but
hear
not
me
back in
out
the day.
here. At least now that he's old and is doing fucking talk show shit, he says crazy shit. But
How about
like when he was the mayor of New York, Giuliani like helped New York recover
I
from
love how he
9/11.
profiled black people as mayor of New York with
Yeah, I
stuff.
don't think I like Giuliani, man.
I mean, yeah, he did some sketch stuff, but he's also I don't know. I don't think he's
Nah,
that
York's
bad.
crime rate.
My favorite Republican is Schwarzenegger.
I don't think he's as bad as McConnell or
think he's a real
Graham at
Republican.
all.
My favorite in the Senate is
Schwarzenegger?
Josh Hawley. That's my guy.
I don't really know Josh Hawley.
I wish there was more guy. I wish we had more people.
Suzanne Collins.
Who is it?
Suzanne Collins from Maine.
Susan.
my favorite.
Oh, I hope she wins, but like I'm not a big fan of hers.
I like Scott Brown too, and I like Baker. I like our governor.
Yeah, I like Baker.
Yeah,
too,
Baker's
actually.
not bad.
I like Baker. Dude, the Democrats though. So speaking of the nominee, right? So in today's hearings, who did it? I can't remember. It was a senator from Hawaii, or it was Cory Booker. It was one of the two. I think it was a senator.
It was probably Tulsi.
No, Tulsi's a
Is that-
congresswoman, not a
Okay.
senator.
My bad.
She's not also absurd, but it's a senator from Hawaii. It starts with an H, her last name, and she literally asked Amy Coney Barrett, "Have you ever sexually assaulted someone or harassed anybody?"
What?
Democrats, I'm telling you, have gone so off the rails. That's such an
Is
inappropriate.
it Mazie Hirono?
Yeah, but Republicans did the same shit to Merrick Garland, bro.
Mo, was it Mazie Hirono?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was absurd. How do you ask that? Like,
The
on what basis?
I will say
She
the
was so
one-
used to saying that to Brett Kavanaugh. She's like, it must be everyone Trump nominates.
the one
Even this
thing that
woman.
like slightly bothers me about Amy Coney Barrett is that she's Catholic, but
What the fuck?
she
Against
did
Catholics?
say
What does that
she-
bother you?
because in the highest court of law we have like religious people. I believe
No,
in
it's not
separation.
No, you mean yeah,
Separation.
exactly.
Yeah,
The fact
she could
Trump-
be a Catholic.
No, she said
There's no separation.
well, if you let me finish, she also said like she wouldn't let her religion influence her decisions on the court, so it's not that big of a deal.
That's not true though, because it clearly does.
There's
I
really
think.
only one thing I'm actually worried about conservative court for is the pro-choice.
Yeah,
pro-life
that
argument.
actually
I'm actually a little
genuinely
bit worried
worries
about that.
me.
And anti-LGBT, I think.
Only because I really, as a freedom, again, I think the government should have no say.
Dude,
Wait,
since 2018, since Kavanaugh got nominated and he became a justice, not because of Kavanaugh, but since then, they've actually become more progressive on LGBT.
I actually have noticed that because they've almost taken a libertarian stance
What's
on
cool
these
is
issues.
that
the
Gorsuch,
states' rights.
Gorsuch and Barrett are young, so they're not like
And Kavanaugh.
they're not like super steadfast in these
They're fucking
traditional
woke,
ideas.
bro.
Well, I'm not.
No,
I'm
I
saying
don't know about
that's
that.
not what
no,
I'm.
Mo
I'm
makes a good
saying
point though.
they're able to grow and see the change within their time still because they're young.
Dude, there's
Yeah.
no chance. If
Mo
you-
makes a point with saying that they kind of let it up. They're like kind of like anyone can be like which sexual
Yeah.
orientation they want to
if
be.
Roe v. Wade,
It's not
if
their
you're worried
business.
about Roe v. Wade, look, I'm speaking from a conservative view. There's no chance it happens. No chance it gets overturned. It's
It
so
can't be, bro.
impossible.
It would be devastating to our society to overturn.
They don't want
that.
to. You know what? You don't want to be the justice who says I'm going to vote to overturn it. You're not going to
Yeah.
be that justice because you might get assassinated the next morning. So
It's really
stop
the
your
only thing because
ridiculous.
like I don't mind any other policy they make. I'm gonna trust them because I actually think conservative justices would be more in favor of protecting the Constitution and Bill of Rights than liberals at the moment anyway.
The economist who wrote Freakonomics found direct correlation with like. So a lot of economists were like predicting there would be a massive crime wave in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And it never showed up. It never came. So what makes Freakonomics such a great book is they found these correlations that were like wild that no one had ever thought of. And the correlation they found with that was Roe v. Wade got passed, and they accredited Roe v. Wade being passed to the lack of that crime wave because we didn't increase police force that much in the 90s. Like, it was more that due to, like, abortion, a lot of these people weren't forced into a situation where they had to raise a kid they didn't care about or was left to the streets or the system.
Dude,
Yeah.
abortion is. I think you guys also would disagree. I say I'm pro-life,
Yeah.
but I also, I take a lot of pro-choice positions. So this is my thing. Naturally, as a human being, and because of religious precedent, I'm pro-life easily. I also understand though, and I think a lot of people who are pro-life understand that abortion's always going to happen either way.
Yeah.
You can get illegal, you can overturn Roe v. Wade. It's going to happen, and all it's going to happen is we're going to have a bunch of women who have dirty, unsanitary, and dangerous abortions, and that's not a good thing for
that
society.
are more life-threatening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good, man. So that's
Yeah,
why.
well, I mean, no one
like
on the
that-
pro-choice side wants abortions. Like that's like not something that people. They just
it's
want the
actually, like,
ability
really
to do
traumatic.
whatever they want without, like,
Yeah.
and no one, especially
Yeah,
like
yeah.
late-term abortions. They act like that's like what they all are, but they're not mostly.
No,
course
they're
not.
not.
I know a lot of people who are like, they should be able to have abortion whenever they want.
Well, if
That's-
you actually, Amy Coney Barrett never like opposed like abortion fully.
No.
She just said like late-term abortion should never be allowed, basically.
Yeah, but the one
I
thing.
also kind of feel like
No,
that's
I
a red
kinda
herring
agree with
though,
that, but at the
because
same time,
Yeah.
should do. I think people though. Here's the thing: people should be able to do, because there's also the cases where people get
Oh.
raped and people, or it's like a really young girl, like 14, 15 years old, like where it's like potentially like it can threaten her life, it can threaten the kid's life. The kid might not. I feel like the thing with pro-lifers is I feel like it's not that pro-life when you're endangering the woman or the child's life by
Yeah.
having a birth when the woman could die, or the child could die or come out severely disabled.
in an instance of like rape, incest, if the woman or kid's in danger, yeah, abortion of course is okay. I don't think most people wouldn't disagree. Actually, I think everyone would say, okay,
but
you're
he's
right.
talking about like healthy,
I'm talking
able-bodied
about healthy,
people.
able people, dude. Have you ever seen videos? The kids are like literally like the babies are literally like resisting. They're resisting. This shit broke me, man.
Yeah,
When I
that's
saw-
kind of fucked. I've
They're
never
fucking
seen that.
They're resisting.
Even when it's like
It's
like
the saddest
2
shit.
months, 3 months in.
How is that okay? It's not natural. It's not all right. We shouldn't justify it. I don't take a hard stance on it because in the end of the day, I know it's just a posturing issue and it's never going to change. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. So I don't care. I'm not going to fight it, and that's not one I really ever put a lot of energy towards ever talking
But
about.
it
I
actually,
was-
I don't
yeah.
have any problems with Amy Coney Barrett getting a point.
Same. Like I don't
true.
think like the main point is she's not that bad. Like her and Gorsuch are honestly I'm not that opposed to. Kavanaugh I think is a bit sus, but
Yeah, I don't like Kavanaugh, but I like Gorsuch actually.
I think with Coney Barrett, my only issue with her, she wasn't one of my first choices, but
Yeah.
she's a traditionalist, she's a conservative, she's a constitutionalist. I respect all those
Yeah,
things.
the biggest part to me is a constitutionalist. I feel like a lot of the other sections of governments have gone so against actually following what the Constitution stands for, whereas the courts have actually upheld the Constitution on a number of
She had
issues.
more of a take on like antitrust or China or something more like big tech.
where
Police.
our politicians are
Really
never
important. Really important. She doesn't have really anything like to give, and that's where I'm kind of like, eh.
The thing
kinda-
is, I actually agree with you on antitrust, but our politicians, no matter what they say, are never going to go back to being antitrust. They're never going to break apart big businesses, which we
No.
do need, but that will never happen. Like,
So that's why I'm like, she's just the media. She's not a bad pick. She's just not.
bro,
really
if you look at Frank Dodd, so Frank Dodd was passed for finance right after the 2008 crash. We've already started repealing it. We started repealing it in like 2015.
The funniest part about Frank Dodd, it's Dodd-Frank. It's Dodd-Frank. That's the name of it. Funniest part of that whole bill is that only, I want to say like 30% of it got passed. There were like tons of amendments to it that just never
And they're
got
still
through the
peeling
House.
it apart. They're still peeling it apart.
And the 30% that got passed is coming unheaved right now.
Yeah, she's maybe even like some mass surveillance. She has nothing to offer there. Like she's just.
Oh,
she's
mass
good.
surveillance is never going to go away either.
No, never. But like, I would love for her to have some stance on it. But all I
Wish
have,
it would though.
I feel like all conservatives too. We suck at this. It's like all they want to hear is that she's pro-life, pretty much. And as long as she's pro-life, they're like,
No.
oh, I'm pro-Second
Yeah.
Amendment. Oh, she's perfect. She's perfect. I'm like, that's it. That's what matters to you.
Kavanaugh's way scarier to me.
No, for me, actually, the only thing I really hope conservatives win on the long term, because I disagree with conservatives a lot, but economics, I think I think at least when it comes to free market hands-off approach, but the other thing is they're super pro-government on some other
All right,
things that I don't agree
yeah,
with.
let's not say that because if you look at actual conservative economics, they haven't really followed that mold in like
No, they haven't
decades,
followed that mold, but
in
I
like a
think that
long
The
time.
Reagan mold, or
I
like
think the expansionist policies would be worse, even more worse under Democrats right now than it would be under Republicans. Not
Reagan
under
was
Joe
not good
Biden.
economically. He was
But
not.
if we're talking about giving the country to like the Bernie Sanders wing, I think government spending would go out of control.
Yeah.
Just like
fuck no, hell no.
that's
no.
what I'm saying. But Joe
Yeah.
Biden's
No.
more the same. Like Joe Biden's probably gonna run the country similar to Obama and Bush and
Yeah.
Clinton.
Well,
Well, not so much. Clinton actually
no,
got
that's
us in a
the thing
certain
about
place.
Biden. Biden's gonna be Biden on his on an economics release isn't necessarily like
He's just more of the same,
he doesn't
really.
hit anything left.
100%.
Doesn't even get to the middle, dude. He's
No, he's just like he's lukewarm, kind of like Hillary was. He's just like
Yeah.
there.
I think for you guys, right? For at least he's not really my pick for someone I want in economics, but
None of them are.
probably
None
not-
of them are. Yeah.
I feel like
Since-
you guys wouldn't be that bad.
Joe
Status.
Jorgensen.
Joe Jorgensen would be
You
great.
guys
He's
would rather
not
apply
white.
tax rate, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Well,
mean,
here's
I
what
would
I said.
like
I
that.
said this before because I know you disagree with the libertarian economic plan, but what I was saying last time that I thought we kind of all agreed on is I think companies that are going to outsource more, they should be getting taxed to outsource into other
Yeah,
countries.
I agree.
Yeah,
with
And then
that.
I actually
they should
changed
get
my
taxed
mind. I
less
agree
to
with you guys
stay
on that.
domestic and keep American jobs in America.
I agree.
We should
Well,
kinda-
American jobs are gonna change radically because of like robotics and technology and programming. But yeah, outsourcing like branches for what is it, customer service? Like I think corporations should get taxed for trying to do that. Why can't Americans work customer service jobs?
Yeah, exactly.
Like why
It should
can't
stay
they
in this
take
country.
phone calls for people
I
trying
know.
to fix stuff?
Well, imagine outsourcing, right, to China. Inhuman place, authoritarian. They have they literally have slaves. The Uyghurs have become slaves. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's awful. Imagine outsourcing and giving people those jobs, putting the jobs out over there, coming back here and then making money. I just fucking hate the concept of it. You've let down Americans. It's unethical as hell.
Yeah, I mean half the shit we own is
Exactly.
was
The
probably
only
made
problem I have with that
Might
unethically.
as well
is
just salute to
those
China.
jobs aren't coming back. Those specific jobs where it's like the products are super cheap and there's no margin. You can't afford to pay someone an American wage to make those products. So
Yeah,
even
those
if they're
jobs are
leaving,
gone.
Americans won't work for that. so.
even if they're leaving China, like Americans aren't making toy fucking dinosaurs. I hate to break it to all of us. It's not fucking happening.
Why couldn't we
The American company.
Well, manufacturing is actually coming back to America. It's just all being done by robots.
It also needs to be. It only needs to be strategic manufacturing, like our medical and our defense. Those are like two specifically important manufacturing. You can't tell me that like cheap labor items. We don't have a comparative advantage. We're just gonna hemorrhage money if we make them.
I'd
here.
say probably the worst thing I think Trump has done is cut subsidies for green energy and like cut green energy incentive.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't like that.
America
policy.
would become more energy independent, like by having more green.
My
energy.
thing is, at the very least, if he was gonna cut clean energy subsidies, he should have cut dirty energy subsidies
Yeah,
too. So,
exactly.
like, if you're gonna repeal them all. Let's
No,
not play
bro, he had to
favorites here.
boost his own stock price, bro. He had to boost his
Literally.
portfolio.
And he had to say he's gonna bring back coal and fracking and all that shit that's so great for us right now.
Trump, I wish, man. Trump, I didn't like Trump. I didn't get my ideal vision of him or my version of him. I wanted Trump to be more like a true populist when it came down to economics. I never really got
Yeah.
that. Never did.
No.
He did a good job with foreign policy.
Bro,
but his
Trump is
economics are
super
weak.
pro big business, dude. They
I
help
was gonna
line
say,
his
how is
fucking
a billionaire
pockets.
gonna support small businesses?
He was born a billionaire,
his-
dude.
To be fair, his bailout was a lot more individual friendly than like the '08 bailout
Yeah.
under
Trump didn't win.
Bush
Trump
and
didn't
Obama.
win being super big business. Trump won because he was a populist. He
I
ran.
will say the way the stimulus was constructed this time was actually far more consumer friendly than it used
Well,
to
the
be.
stimulus this time was because of a pandemic, bro. Not because
That's true.
not because
Not
our
because the
banks
banks failed.
sold a bunch of fucking failing assets to each other.
But dude, the TARP bill was probably the single worst piece of legislation that ever got passed in this century.
oh,
so
I
fuck.
think
TARP was trash.
Within the
dude.
next like 2 years, there's gonna be a lot of assets that become valueless that are on banking books right now.
Oh, so true.
Because we're giving out loans for like 1-2% right now, and then like a year from now they're gonna spike up and people won't be able to pay.
You think so?
Gotta get fixed rate.
So?
Can't get that variable bullshit.
I'm honestly not familiar. You really think so?
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
people are taking out variable rate loans right now, and once the Fed puts our interest rate back up in like 2 years,
Yeah.
once like things start to come back to normal a bit, all the people that took out variable loans are gonna be fucked, depending on where they got the loan.
I don't know if things are ever going to come back to normal in a sense of like, at least job wise, I'll say.
Well, maybe not job wise, but
Yeah.
I'm saying like as life starts to return and the people giving out loans need to collect. Like depending on where you get your loan, there are gonna be companies that take advantage of people and fuck them over, and all these loans are bought and sold by other banks throughout the trading day.
I see
So
what you're saying.
assets are gonna become valueless once people default.
I see what you're saying.
Dude, all the pandemic did, at least in terms of economics, was literally like make the shift towards like the e-commerce society even faster, because
Yeah, it
now
did.
retail is almost entirely obsolete for the most part. Dude, retail, when we go back like to being fully functional, is not gonna have as many options as it once did. It's gonna look a lot different. A lot different.
Well, I think retail will stay in like cities and urban areas, really.
Agreed. It's the countries that are gonna, like the countryside, that's gonna struggle with
Man,
retail.
rural areas eat it they eat it. They've been eating it for decades, for God's
Yeah.
sake, and
Yeah.
it goes so under the radar.
Well,
They've
if you
been-
look at modern like real estate development, it started in the South, but it's even coming up here into New England. It's like they build like these really modern like condo and apartment complexes, and they take out huge pieces of land and they put like movie theaters, restaurants, retail, like everything in one spot, because that's what like millennials want, because now they have money finally.
And they have that fear of missing out, so they want like 5 stores all together, so
Yeah.
they can just go one after the next.
Oh, literally. It's sad, man. I don't
Well-
know. Do we want a more innovative society or a more innovative society? Is that a good thing, you think?
Society is always going to be
What was it?
innovative.
Do we want a
Yeah.
society that's more innovative and even more automated to the point where we're losing so many jobs and so many people are going to be put out of jobs? Is that
Yeah, because I think at some point, humans can like start to have different interests. Like, I know we're in like a weird phase where it's starting to get rolled out, but if you think like 3 or 4 generations from now, humans are gonna have a lot more freedom to like find creativity in what they want. Because if automation is gonna get to the point where like there's robots doing probably close to 60 or
Is that a
70%
good thing,
of all
Is
jobs.
that a good thing though? Because what happens? So what happens to the people who really? Let's just put it this way: what happens to the people who don't know how to like work with robots or build robots or who aren't engineers?
I mean,
'cause
they're-
They're gonna have UBI.
most people here.
Not without Yang, they won't.
Most people in our country are working class people who typically do service jobs. What happens to those people when robots and other technology take over? That's not a good thing, I think. I wouldn't say it is.
Well, I mean, it's the
Huh.
law of humanity.
What's
I
the
think
bad-
like if you look at history, like innovation comes from necessity always.
Sure, but then we have millions and millions and millions of people who don't have jobs, and then eventually
We're just gonna look like the
Yeah,
fucking
but then
people
it's-
from Wall-E.
It's time to adapt.
Yeah.
Not good.
We're gonna be on our giant fucking
What I'm trying to
chairs. We're gonna
It's-
weigh 500 pounds.
I read something right. I heard something. It said capitalism without a moral compass isn't good. And and at first I was like, I don't know, because I'm a capitalist, of course, till I die. But I sort of thought about it, like, damn, this somewhat makes sense on some level. I'm not saying I'm not promoting
The
socialism.
thing is, though, if,
Well, I
if
mean-
you won't be greedy in capitalism, someone else will, and they'll
Yeah.
try and out innovate you. So if that includes enhanced automation, they're gonna do it.
What
That's
if we just
how-
keep out innovating so hard, though, that we have so many people out of jobs? We have so many people who can't provide for their families, and we have so many people who can't do anything, pretty
I
much.
think you have a really like dire outlook. It's like as time goes on, we're finding ways to create like new businesses that like we have never existed before on like a whole new scale right now.
we never
I
got
think the biggest scary
I was
thing
gonna say
that's
that
gonna
would
come
be
down the
more
pike
job.
is AI. We didn't hear you. AI might be get to the point someday where if it can actually think and operate like a human,
Good
it's gonna be
thing.
kind of
Bro,
scary.
people today can literally make a livable yearly wage by like selling their voice online, like voiceovers.
That's
Yeah,
what I was
right.
gonna say. I feel like automation will actually create more jobs for
I don't believe that
people.
for a second. The problem with
Well, we
automation
don't
now is
know. We can't really
we've never lived in a
say
society
for
without
sure.
service-based jobs. We've always had service or manufacturing jobs constantly. So we never lived in a society without those jobs. Those jobs all go. That's where we're at. This is why like now automation is the biggest. It's a real action, like a legitimate concern because we've always had those jobs. They've always existed.
It's
What happens when
also
those jobs go?
it's not just like simple like someone's echoing.
Yeah, I could hear that too.
But it's not just like simple like working like service jobs either. It's like doctors are gonna lose jobs, hedge fund managers, lawyers, paralegals. So like
That
it's
and those guys are way into the future. I don't look at that as like I'm
No,
no,
actually,
bro.
there's
It's not
dude,
that
they're
far into the
actually
future as
a
you
a lot
think.
of the times.
jobs that
Dude, the thing is, like, before, like, blue-collar construction guys will get their jobs taken, dude, like, radiology is going to be gone
Yeah,
because
radiology.
AI can read shades of gray that human eye can't. So, like, a lot of white-collar jobs aren't going to stick around, or, like,
Yeah.
finance-based jobs,
So
like,
it's
a
not just
trader isn't as efficient or doesn't have the mathematics as ingrained in them as an AI
it's gonna
does.
change the way we think and see the world, but I don't think that's necessarily dire. Like people always adapt.
think it's dire, man. We don't. Yeah, we say that, but I don't think we have like the capabilities to just adapt just as
I
easy
think
as
we
we think.
do. We have the internet now. We have
When
unlimited
basic
knowledge.
when basic jobs go, what happens? Not everyone knows
UBI.
code. Not everyone.
We'll
Not
still
everyone
have
knows
restaurants. We'll still
or
have insurance.
not everyone knows how to code. Not everyone's an engineer. What happens when those
What about
basic jobs go?
sales, bro? We're not gonna
That's
have
gonna go too.
robots
That's
selling. We're not gonna
Become a
have
cam
robots
girl.
selling
sales are
insurance.
gonna get automated too. That's not a good thing.
No,
We shouldn't want that. Our society's gonna
sales
get
will
that.
No,
not
come
be
on. Cam girls,
automated.
cam girls will never get automated.
They'll never get automated. No. They're an exception. They made some smart decisions clearly. I guess.
Sales
becoming more-
won't be automated for a very long time if it does happen. Like we'll probably be like close to dead by the time that happens.
They'll
But
be
then we have
cam boys.
society afterwards. That's what I'm trying to say. Like we keep going on. We're just going to adapt. We're just going to adapt. I don't think it's as easy as we're looking at it because so many common jobs that have existed for hundreds of years are going to be gone.
I really think the biggest, like I agree with you, but I feel like the biggest competency that anyone can have going into the 21st century is how to use technology, even at basic levels. Because if you can't use a computer in our generation, ooh, especially with the way the economy is going, I feel like you're at a severe disadvantage.
I mean,
And, like,
I think the world has always been this way. It's either adapt or don't, and like
Die.
fall
Yeah,
behind.
but that's such an easy way. That's such an easy way to
No,
think
it's
about.
not,
Like,
because it takes a lot of work to adapt. It takes a
The
lot of
easiest-
time
easiest-
and effort.
the easiest idea is to just say, well, just adapt. It's like
It's not just saying
Like,
it though. Actually doing it is a different thing.
conservatives do this sometimes. Conservatives do this sometimes. They go, when it comes to economics, when young people are saying, oh, how about this? I'll use this for an example, okay? Marriage, the nuclear family is going downhill. That's not. It's deteriorating. The nuclear family is deteriorating. People can't get married.
Exactly.
And I asked a politician, literally this, and I asked him, what's going to happen? What's your point? What's your take on this? And what can we do to fix it? And they blamed it on like bad financial decisions.
Jesus.
That's a generic take. Just adapt. He's like, just adapt. Just got to get better. Just go to college, do better. I'm like, that's a
Yeah, but adapting isn't
Really?
going to college. Adapting is using the environment around you to find new avenues.
Yeah, but when
The world has always changed. It's always.
on. What happens? That's what I'm saying. There's like, what's gonna happen?
But
to
we've
those
seen this before. Like with industrialization, we lost tons of agriculture and jobs that have existed forever back
still
then.
had service-based jobs though. Like we still had like relatively like
I don't know.
blue-collar service-based jobs, manufacturing jobs. We've always had those. We're not gonna have those anymore. That's
I mean,
the
we
problem.
don't have that many manufacturing jobs.
Not as
And
much.
they'll
but we
still exist in some places for a
exist.
while.
Well, what happens to all those people? Like that's what I'm saying. We have to think about this morally at least. I understand the need
Yeah.
for innovation. I understand the need to like get better become a stronger society. We still want to be the best country in the world. I completely agree, but I'm just saying we have so many people who are going to lose jobs, so many men who can't provide food for their kids and their family, so many young people who literally aren't going to get married. Let's face it. I mean, it's
Is
Yeah,
that
a lot of young
necessarily a
people I
bad
meet
thing, though?
don't-
Is that
How is that a bad thing?
necessarily a
Terrible.
bad thing?
not a good thing.
I
I'll tell you.
don't
I
necessarily want to
actually
get married.
agree with Mo on that.
New millennial Gen Z world where everyone's high and no one gets married.
It's
And
not about
no,
being
the
high.
Tinder-
What
no,
the
it's-
fuck?
It's,
No,
to me,
I mean,
not the
what?
high part.
What?
The high part, no, but
Where
to me,
everyone's
it's like the
so-
Tinder.
Marriage is a choice, personally.
Dude, to me, it's
But
like
it's just
everyone
like-
thinks they can have a new flavor of the night. Like with Tinder, dude, we have more options than any other generation.
Do all these people necessarily need to procreate?
You
though?
can have-
Look at
Wait a
global
sec.
warming.
It's
Like, do
crazy.
all these people?
So dumb. But like, I think that's a problem with our generation is because you can have like whatever you want at your fingertips. I feel like that leads to people just like not deciding to want like the traditional like family and stuff like
Yeah,
Like,
that.
hey,
that's
yeah,
not
man.
necessarily a bad
Look,
thing.
They
You
listen.
might be right. I still think it is a bad thing because it's been proven that
It's always financial decision. It's always financial issues. It's always financial issues.
kids with two-parent households have better outcomes too. There's statistics on it, and kids from broken homes tend to perform worse in school.
Also,
and-
it's proven that a lot of this stuff online isn't lead to anything substantial in the long term,
So,
like
like,
any
this
kind
is-
of relationships. you
going
make.
back
a lot
to
of-
my
a lot of
original
people just
point,
want
like,
a quick fuck. They're like,
Not all these
I'm a
people.
sick fuck. I want a quick fuck.
You can always look at the idea like, okay, freedom, I get it, but like what happens to like you want a good strong society, a good cohesive society still. Like that's very important. I'm just saying. People aren't getting married when drugs are just legalized for whatever reason. When you're like this isn't
Whoa,
when
there's no correlation there. Why are you
I'm just
connecting
making
those?
points. I'm just stating it. When you just
Okay.
when we just have these
They're
things,
lazy. They love drugs.
They don't get married. They just fuck on Tinder all day.
our kid. Let's put it this way: the divorce rate's as high as it's ever been. People are having the birth rate's as low.
That's not our generation's fault yet, though.
Honestly, the
divorce
birth
is
rate-
high.
rate
Yeah.
being low isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're pretty
The
overpopulated.
divorce rates being
no.
high is the fault of the millennials and the Gen Xers right now.
Well,
Actually.
in America, we're not overpopulated. As a planet, we are overpopulated. We're killing our resources. We're killing our resources on the planet faster than our planet can regenerate them.
That's true. Yeah,
There's
Yeah,
too many
that's a
fucking people.
problem.
we can thank China and India for that.
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
the U.S.
They got like 3 billion people, let alone.
The U.S. consumes like a quarter of the world's resources, but has like way less than that in population.
I like
so-
the amount we use.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, yeah, there's a billion people,
Lance fit for
so that's
king,
gonna
but-
use a lot. But then again, like, we use a lot, so we can't just point the finger and be like, "Hey, you fuck unprotected sex motherfuckers."
Yeah, fuck up. Start using less resources.
Start using condoms, motherfucker.
No, please have less kids in China and India. You guys are.
Well,
China
China
actually
actually,
stopped having kids.
yeah, they
It's-
enforced
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah,
Is it actually?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
They
in
put
a
a one-child policy, which is funny because that's like the opposite of what the most authoritarian countries want.
What
Most
they do
authoritarian
with
countries want to have a lot of kids. They want like a big
yeah.
family. So
If China found
Which
out you had
school?
more than like one kid, what did they do? Did they like murder that kid?
They took your other one and they threw it in the
they put
fucking
them up for
river.
adoption. Actually, that's why so many Americans think Chinese children.
They threw them in
Ah.
rivers.
No, they put them up for adoption, and mad Americans were
I
adopting.
like my version more.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, dude. This isn't fucking Moses.
Yeah.
More like 3 billion.
Jake's out here like Zeus eating his own, or no, it wasn't Zeus. Fucking Zeus's dad eating his own fucking kids out here. That's not what China's like, bro.
They put them in trash bags. They tied them up, put rocks in them, and threw them in the fucking
Jesus
water.
Christ. Oh my god, dude.
With the Chinese government, I wouldn't be surprised.
Chuck.
I'm
dude,
sure they killed a couple, experimented on a couple, and then the rest they were like given to the Americans.
I'm ready for like the big conflict we're gonna be in China. Like we're gonna have a serious, it's not gonna be like a real world war, of course.
Like a Cold War, maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a cold war. Some
Like a
people
proxy war.
Some people
Yeah.
say we're in one, man. I don't think we are, but like, dude,
I I think the U.S. is more focused on getting resources in Venezuela and Greenland right now.
I think the U.S. doesn't really care for another like major armed conflict because if you
Yeah,
look
I
at
think
the U.S.'s strategy, basically what we're doing right now is trying to strategically divert like our manufacturing base away from China into Vietnam and India. Like if you look at
Yeah.
what's going on, we're trying to avoid armed conflict with China by just going to other
Yeah, a
countries.
lot of like Pan-Pacific countries are actually benefiting a lot from the like loss in manufacturing China has gotten. Because even Europe's distancing from China now too.
Yeah, everyone is because we've
Europe
all
is
enriched China.
Yeah.
So-
Because well, the thing is, dude, China could have been like, "Oh, we're gonna open it up, democracy, multi-parties,"
yeah,
but
that's
instead
what
they were like,
But
"Fuck
they
that
don't.
shit,
Yeah.
one party, mass
Yeah, Xi
surveillance."
Jinping wants this fucking power at the end of
All
the
right,
day.
I will say I'm not opposed to mass surveillance in America because you can't have it both ways. Like, be safe and not have surveillance. Like,
Yes, you can, dude. They've literally
Yes,
stopped
you
like
can.
Are you
terrorist
kidding?
attacks.
yeah, how did they stop those attacks, bro? Through mass surveillance.
Yeah, well, you know how many they missed, dude?
How about
They missed like
citizens, though?
10 to 15.
They missed 10 to 15. All
They
right,
stopped
but
3. That's fucking awful.
that's 3 more than they would
sure.
have 20 years
Yeah,
ago.
Oh, so that totally just, you
Rights,
know,
bro. We're getting
No, I'm
spied.
super against mass surveillance
I'm
of our
definitely
citizens.
against mass
CIA and
surveillance.
other countries
Also-
is
I also
one
think
thing,
it's fucked
but
up
like
that they
NSA,
prosecute.
Homeland, fuck that shit.
Mass
I also think it's
surveillance-
fucked up they
mass
prosecuted
surveillance-
Snowden.
They're not going to come out after us with mass surveillance unless we get up to some super fucked up shit. Like,
Dude, they prosecuted Snowden under the Espionage
yeah,
Act,
no, that was
saying they
fucked up.
spied on him for
Prosecuting
telling the
Snowden
truth
was,
to the
uh,
American
What's
citizens.
the fucking
Dude,
All right,
they're
but-
watching this as we speak right
Snowden
now.
getting prosecuted is a whistleblower issue, not a mass surveillance. He pointed out how deep the mass surveillance really is.
Yeah, they're watching us as we speak right now.
Trump
I don't know
Trump
what the
did
fuck they
cop
can
out
fuck-
because he didn't
Yeah,
pardon Snowden.
Yeah, I hope everyone at the NSA actually knows this if they are listening. You guys can all suck our fucking dicks.
Yeah,
it's
seriously,
fucking-
go fuck yourself.
Yo,
Home-
you know the NSA had a program to look for terrorists by playing World of Warcraft.
Are you shitting me?
Fucking on the taxpayer dollar, these fucking nerds were sitting on their computers playing World
That's
of
such an
Warcraft.
NSA thing because I feel like the computer nerds who work for the NSA were just like actually
what-
avid players of World
What-
of Warcraft.
What
That's
more
what they
things
did
do
when
you
they went
need to
home.
hear about our government to like it? Like I fucking like that's just the most like oh I hate bureaucracy.
Dude,
Exactly.
people-
Also, don't even get me started with TSA and those guys.
The distrust of our government right now, like there's never been more distrust in our government than ever before. People
Yeah.
do not fucking like our government. Or
Exactly.
Congress's approval rating is like 27%.
Bro, they don't
tough
pass
stuff.
shit that helps the people. at
Nothing.
all. Like,
Oh,
It's the lowest it's been in
the
years.
only thing that gets
What?
passed
Yeah.
through Congress is like repeals on business so they can keep lining their pockets.
Dude, the GOP, whenever we're in power, they got to be the most useless motherfuckers I've ever witnessed.
yeah.
They don't do anything.
They don't do shit.
That's
Said-
kind of what I like about
Here.
them, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
at least opposed to the Democrats, dude. Like I like a government that's barely
Yeah.
functional because at least I know it's
'Cause
not
as a
taking
business
more of
guy-
my rights away.
as a-
because they're
Yeah.
still trying to be
Useless,
corrupt,
man.
though.
Like all the things they constantly tell us we're gonna get, utterly fucking useless. We get none of it. It's
Like-
awful.
As a guy in business, that's great news because it basically means I'm gonna get all the shit I'm gonna end up wanting.
Yeah.
But yeah, for our society, for keeping a strong society, as you would say, I don't know if that's the doing nothing is really great.
No.
No, it's not. No, it's not
Better
good.
than doing
It's not good
something
at
and
all.
fucking it all up,
I give
though.
it to society.
All right, but you can
All
have
the-
it. You can have both, where it's like your government works and doesn't fuck anything up. Like if you look at like UK and Canada.
I'm not convinced with the last 20 years of ours that we can have that anymore.
Our
All right,
government
I
is
think
awesome.
we're gonna go into stock picks.
Wait,
I have-
not yet. I thought you were gonna do your last topic still. I thought you were gonna do.
Oh no, we don't have time. We went.
All right, well
way
then we
over.
Yeah,
got. Well, I
we're
gotta at
pretty-
least talk about his show. Let's talk about his
Okay.
show
How long
real
do we
quick.
have? Holy shit. How long has it
Been
been?
Alright.
over an hour.
Hour and
usually over an
15
hour.
minutes. We're at
That's
I
like
don't
our
know what we
typical
covered. I
length.
feel
That's
like
it's
we're
not
talking
that
a bit.
it's not too bad. All right,
Well, let's
so
talk real quick about your podcast that you have, because I know you also host a show. Just talk a little bit of, say what it's called and talk a little bit about it, and we'll show a snippet too.
Sure. Sure. So it's called RWB Football. It's just it's a soccer-based podcast. It's mostly just predictions, analysis, just mostly discussions on what's going on in world football. We're mostly focused on the Premier League. To be honest, I'm not. I mean, we talk about other European leagues, but I mean, I'm just really generally more focused on the Premier League. 'Cause that's where I watch most of my games from.
Yeah.
So, my friend does too. So that's what we're mostly focused on. It's not. It's pretty much under an hour every episode. It's once a week. Nothing out of the norm.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Does the Premier League have the highest rating in all of the world soccer? Like, do the most people watch the Premier League?
Probably.
Arguably, yeah. La Liga in Spain comes close. I'd argue Bundesliga in Germany is the second best, but right now Premier League is still the top.
I think La Liga is second best, but I think the Prem probably.
I think Bundesliga is more competitive. Even though Bayern, they did win, but like in general, they've been more competitive
All right,
recently.
so to get back on topic, RWB Football on it's available on Spotify. Let's check it out here. Let's see.
Only 7 episodes. We just started doing this.
7 episodes just started. Here's the about.
Like the logo.
Hot topics surrounding the world of soccer. Yeah, the logo is pretty cool. Give these guys a follow. And here, would you like the newest episode, first episode? What would you like?
Who would you please? I mean, it's gonna be kind of random. I think there's gonna be like no context. I think they might be a little bit confused. And I mean,
All right, let's look at transfer deadline day then.
fuck it.
Oh crap! Oh god damn it! All right,
You got
I'm gonna
fucked, man.
Fuck it, man.
I'm gonna have to do some editing here.
Fuck it. No. No, you're good, bro. Don't worry about it.
No,
It's gonna
Nah,
be.
you can play a bit.
You can cut it
It
out.
won't
We'll
take
just,
long.
we'll just talk a tiny bit about it while he does that. How about that? Because I was gonna say,
yeah.
I want to talk. So, like, I was gonna say, I really fuck with this podcast that you're coming out with. Like, I know, and partly why is because I'm also really interested. Like, I know we do talk about sports on this show, not so much soccer, just because these guys don't really watch it. It's mostly NFL and NBA. But I do really like Premier League, and I like UEFA, and like I said, Bundesliga, European soccer in general. And one of the things, like, I was gonna mention, like when we first started practicing with Suffolk FC, like when I met you there, one of the things I really fucked with, and I knew that we would be chill, is that like when you said you were a Newcastle fan and you watch Premier League all the time, we just started talking about Premier League for like half the practice. I was like, this kid really knows his shit. And he also supports a team that has history, even if they haven't been good recently. And like that's why I was like, yo, I fuck with this.
All right,
And
we are good to go.
All right, let's watch a little bit of it.
All right, so let's check out episode 7, RWB Football.
Can't.
Hello, guys.
Okay,
It's RWB
yeah.
Football.
That's
I'm Mo.
how it was
That's
with
Babs. Today we're going to be talking about just a couple things. Just going to be going over Game Week 4 and just some new transfers.
It's analytical
Transfer
on some
deadline
levels,
day,
mostly
not too long ago.
Something.
So we're just going to go over some of the
We want to
transfers
start
just
bringing on
recently
the
happened,
happened.
our takes on it.
I don't know. Depends
Quick
if people want to
discussion.
get on. I mean, we don't care.
Let's get started. No matter what, we'd
Yeah,
love to have a
Game
good
Week 4
discussion.
was it's just for starters, not anything we
Have you had
expected.
guests on yet?
No,
Not
I
yet,
don't think
no.
most people expected
My
it.
my friend
No,
I'm doing with
and
this
if you can
from-
see right
he's
there,
like a
guys,
local
that's friend of mine. He's not from Suffolk.
Okay.
Yo, guys.
I definitely. Yeah.
What's it called? You can't.
Shut the fuck up.
You can't like talk while it's playing. Like it's coming
Alright.
through. Like I'm gonna pick up you guys and this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just play it real quick, then we'll
Alright.
not talk.
All right.
The current point tally. So I'm at 38. He's at 50. We actually both had good weeks. So
Yeah.
neither of us really had a bad week. He got 10. I got 12. I got 6 right. He got 5 right. So nothing out of the nothing crazy.
Yeah.
So let's start it off. Chelsea Palace. I don't think there's as much to talk about here.
Not really. I think both of us just thought Palace would have a little bit more in this game, but it was just they did nothing.
I thought Chelsea at home, you'd come in. You've not been the best lately. You're going to come in and beat Palace. That was kind of my expectation. They did.
All right. So that was a bit of Mo's podcast, RWB Football. He was talking about Chelsea in the Premier League today, and if you're into soccer and football, as I like to say it, go check it out.
That is how you say it, right?
Butchered
Football.
that.
They say it
Football.
in Spanish, yeah.
So much
Football.
emphasis on that.
Because we learned, or at least I learned it in Spanish class. I was like, oh, they call it football because it's not football. I know it's a fundamentally different football.
Well, in England, it's football.
England is fucking football, yeah.
Their accents make it sound cool.
Probably better than the American.
You know what I love? How like Google or like anywhere online now, when it has like language, it's like English, and then below it it's like English like UK.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck yeah, America got the real English.
Yeah, I've noticed that's kind of cool. But I feel like you think I don't know. I feel like we have like an ugly version of English. I feel
We
like,
do.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
for sure.
yeah, I thought I might have been the only one who thought that. We have like our sounds
Informal. We're like the informal version of English.
Yeah, it
Well,
does
I
sound
mean-
a little bit less like. It sounds very different.
Yeah, I think people appreciate British accents more than
They learn everywhere else learns them. Typically, they learn British accents.
Yeah.
And, like,
My
you look at
favorite
Australia,
person
New
in the
Zealand,
world
it's
is
a
a
little more
Brit.
similar to British.
Yeah, I wonder why. Like
Canadians
it-
might have worse
there's-
accents though than us. I will say Canadians have fucking
Canadians
weird
don't really
They
have
do.
accents for the
No, they
most
do.
part.
It's
say
more
some
French.
shit weird though.
It
No, not
actually-
even,
they
not even
do sound-
French,
In,
dude. It's
in
more like
Quebec, it's more French, but
yeah, but
most
in, like,
of Canada.
Nova
is,
Scotia,
uh,
like Trailer
French
Park
Canadian.
Boys, bro, it's more like fucking like hillbilly Irish.
you guys are
It's
taking like really like groups of Canada, but like overall, there's not that many accents in
there's
Canada.
there's some accents.
There's some,
Like,
yeah,
dialect.
but like
it's-
that's not like what Canada sounds like overall.
At least in Quebec, dude, they sound like wicked French.
Well, if you want to do that in America, like people typically think the South is how like outside of America, they think Southerners is how most Americans speak.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
That's
South-
fair.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of
yeah,
like
that's true.
there's different
That's
dialects.
terrible for the rest of us.
How it's all-
But there's definitely a Canadian accent. Like if you go to like Nova Scotia or Newfoundland, like they do sound like the guys in Trailer Park Boys. Like I've been up there and it's honestly like that's how they sound.
You can tell when you're hearing an Australian do an American accent because they make it really like earthy, I guess, breathy.
Yeah.
They make it sound like it's like, I'm Bill and I'm from America.
I'm just talking to Jim
Like,
Jeffries. That's where you're
okay.
getting this.
No, I'm
reference
also
from.
getting this from a show called Rake on
okay.
Netflix. Yeah,
It sounds forced. You know what I'm saying?
like every
Speaking
time they
of
did an
America.
American accent in that show, I could tell like right away.
Speaking of America, we're gonna transition over to stock picks. And my stock pick this week is Lithium America or Americans Corp. So it's LAC.
What's
It's
it called?
trading at Lithium Americas Corp. So
Okay.
it's, yeah. 13.22. It's actually down this week as opposed to last week. It was trading at $17 at one point, but it got knocked back down. So I think now's a good time to jump in. I'm a huge proponent of long-term holds in lithium because I think like over time, lithium prices are going to skyrocket because it's not a renewable resource that we have. It's deep below the ground and deposits. So I think it's definitely worth a stock to hold on to because lithium prices are going to rise as EVs and other electric products come to market more that require battery usage. So definitely Lithium Americas Corp. There is no dividend on it. Thought I'd mention that now, but I do like the stock.
All right. My stock pick of the week, once again, I haven't really been looking too much. I'm pretty satisfied with my portfolio. But I'm going to go with Virgin Galactic Holdings.
Oh,
actually.
That's it.
No,
so,
that was
so they're
Thought we were
like
getting somewhere.
they're like one of these new startup space exploration and tourism companies that like builds rockets and shit. So right now they're trading at $21.92. They don't have a dividend. They're pretty new, and their 52-week high is $42.49. So basically that means if there's no crash and things keep climbing, you're pretty much gonna double your money with these guys.
There's gonna be a fucking crash though.
There's gonna be
Honestly,
a crash.
my biggest advice right now to investors is to probably take your money out of the market at the
No,
moment.
put your money in Tesla and Apple right now.
Tesla and Apple, maybe. I'm not putting my money in anything until after.
Well, yeah, I'm not putting any money in right now.
when Trump said like he would when he tweeted out like no more stimulus negotiation, whatever it was. Like didn't stocks drop? I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah, like 5%.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing. Here's the thing about stocks. Like, it doesn't actual performance doesn't actually determine shit. It's all about news for the day. The only time like actual performance determines shit is like when there's a crash and seeing how companies rebound and how fast.
Yeah, it's all the flavor of the day. You could stick your finger in like the wind after you put it in your mouth,
Yeah.
and whichever the way the wind's blowing
Like-
with the news is the way the stock's
Like
gonna
a
go.
company with like actual like good cash and like not too much debt can have like a couple bad news pieces and their stock will fucking tank. Like
Down stupid hard, like really, really hard.
part of it can also be attributed to nowadays there's a little more volatility because of things like Robinhood and Stack, where like they're all of us young investors and like not all of us necessarily understand everything about stocks, but we still invest and buy and sell shit at random times.
A lot of the time, it's retail investors tend to be feeling investors. So like a lot of your Tesla and your like environmentalist investors don't actually care about the financials of a company. They just are like, oh, that's an electric car. Holy shit, let me put $500 in Tesla.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not how you actually invest. But I feel like the more traditional, like you can get actual analyst input if you buy like the Motley Fool or Wall Street Journal subscription. But that's pretty much it. I think we should go on to lessons of the week. I think we all have one.
I can lead this one off if you guys.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. My lesson of the week might be a little controversial, actually. It's don't make plans, make goals, right? So plans are very stringent in that like plans don't really allow for like deviation. Plans never go the way you hope they go, right? Like when you set a specific timeline and like genuinely hope like multiple things happen within that timeline, very rarely will the effects you want to see happen exactly the way you imagine. Whereas when you're setting goals and achieving those goals within a timeline, like it gives you it gives you space to like kind of flex around like new problems that come up. Like it keeps you're still focused on something, you're still focused on moving forward, but you're not like you're not getting stressed out from deviations from what you thought. You're not getting extra stressors, I guess. So make goals, not plans.
That's a good lesson.
That's a good
I like
one,
that
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go if you want.
Go for
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
So this one, not even gonna like specify why, but just cherish those around you. It's very simple, and it may not make sense right now, and I hope it does. Maybe it shouldn't, but just cherish those around you.
No,
you
that
know?
makes sense. I like
Make sure you just remind everyone that you care about them and that you love them still. You know, that's important. Make sure you show a little extra love to some people.
That's a good one. I like that. Sven, I'm really struggling here because
All
like
right, I'll go.
How's Sven
I don't
gonna
really know.
piggyback off mine this time?
I'm not gonna
Yeah, I
be
was
that
thinking
obvious. I
that.
don't give a fuck. But the one I will say, I might have said this one before though, if I'm being honest, but I don't think I did. So mine is don't put things off. Like don't save everything to the last minute. That's like one of the biggest mistakes I always make,
I don't think
and I
you
try
have.
to stop.
I don't think you have said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is one of my biggest things. Like one of my biggest struggles is like, especially when it comes to like work and stuff. I don't like to, but I tend to procrastinate a lot, and I tend to put shit off. And that's like my biggest struggle is trying to like organize and spread shit out because I'm not like the best multitasker either. So I tend to like just leave shit that I don't notice at first to the end, and then like sometimes I get it in last minute. Sometimes it's late, as I have a problem with doing shit late sometimes, and so one of the biggest things is when not just work, just any kind of plans you make, just make sure like I know Avi said don't plan it out, but in this case I would say you want to plan this out because you want to stay organized and just don't leave everything to the last minute because it'll be overwhelming and just give you unnecessary stress you wouldn't need to live a healthy lifestyle.
Well, I can, cause I like in high school and like freshman year in college, I was pretty big procrastinator, but like that's all about time management, really. It's all about knowing like, oh, I have this class here. When are my due dates? What time can I set aside ahead of time to get that.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten better. I've definitely gotten better with it, but I've noticed it's also not just like class and like work related stuff. It could be like other things that you like committed to doing something to
Yeah.
somebody, and then all of a sudden it comes you forget about it.
No,
so.
yeah, that definitely happens. Like saying like, oh yeah, I have to make time to go do that with you, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think my lesson this week is like leave no stone unturned, whether it's in your personal life or like plans you make with your friend or like you're pursuing a job. Always make sure you don't leave a door open and like try and figure out what's really for you. I feel like a lot of people feel kind of stuck and they don't like what they do. But at the same time, if you're like putting some leads out there to find out what you actually want to do, it's worth it in the end because you never know what could be out there that's for you that you didn't give a chance before.
Yeah, you'll never
Or-
know unless you try.
Yeah, for sure.
I
All
like
right.
that.
So I think that just about wraps up our episode, Straight No Chaser, episode 11. Thank you very much, Mo, for being our guest today. We had a great conversation, I
It
thought.
was awesome.
And for all you guys out there, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, straightnochaser.ent. And thank you for keeping up the support. We'll see you guys next week.
Be sure to like and subscribe.